there are a couple of steps for it to go live. Oh, and then the other thing is that the other day, it wasn't letting me go live, and we just wound up doing it as a Zoom recording, and then Daisy posted it later. So hopefully that won't happen today. Hopefully it'll work. It's still thinking.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick my phone on quiet so that it doesn't. All right.
Thank you.
So welcome to our Cuddlist Facebook Live for today for Neurodiversity Month. I'm Cassandra Brown. We are so happy to be here with Indigo Dawn, and we're going to get to share for our Facebook Live. Hello, everyone, and hello, Indigo.
Hello.
Hey. So thanks for coming in to talk with us about, we're doing this March Neurodiversity Month for Cuddlist and really celebrating the different ways that our brains are wired. And also, I think what we're finding as we go through the month is admitting that none of us are exactly neurotypical or whatever. Like, everybody's wired a little bit differently. And some folks have more something that fits in a category of a label, and particular support can be really necessary and helpful. I'm certainly not an expert. This is just what I'm finding as I'm talking to people as we go through the month. So I really appreciate you agreeing to talk with us. You're a Cuddlist practitioner, and from what you shared with me, you figure you could be diagnosed somewhere on the autism spectrum, and I would just love to hear from your experience about how the world occurs to you and what you'd like to share with us.
Yeah. So to me, a diagnosis is only useful if it provides a way to find accommodations, or those accommodations are in some way necessary, or to find an identity group for support and things like that. So I don't have any diagnoses. If I am on the autism spectrum, I have really good coping mechanisms, that is, ways to successfully operate, even succeed or thrive in systems that are not designed for people who function differently. But for me, I have lower than average empathy, and what that means to me is if I'm looking at somebody, then my ability to model what they're feeling is, I think, lower, and I have to put more attention to get it right. And I'm still I'm building models. There's a way that I train myself to empathize with people, especially specific individuals, of oh, okay, so I know when they use exactly that wording or that tone, that means that they're upset or in this certain way. So I think it's meant just throughout my life, I've had to learn different ways of doing things that many other people have.
Yeah. So tell me about that, because I think, you're using, what you're saying is that you're using your intelligence, your mind, your aware cognitive process to do something that others seem to do more innately or unconsciously.
Yeah, I think so. And that's another neurodiversity is the association with the word neurodiverse is things that are really clearly difficulties, some people who have Asperger's, some people have ADHD, things like that. But actually, higher levels of intelligence, neurodiversity is just diverging from the average. So I identify as very intelligent, and so there's a way that I, not only my lower empathy, but the way that I learn things, the way that I think about things. So even the way that I talk about things, it's all just, people find it abnormal. And I'm lucky to sort of even to relish in uniqueness. And yeah.
It sounds like you've found a way to be uniquely you and not just come to terms with it, but celebrate it.
Totally. And that comes from, I had secure attachment as a child, so there's this deep self-love just that's in there no matter what, and that's really helpful.
That is amazingly helpful. So one of the things that I find in Cuddlist sessions is that the secure attachment that I have, to the degree that I have it, is part of what I get to offer my clients, like that place of being loved and accepted as they are, no matter what. And I'm wondering, if you find that core kind of knowing that you're loved for you also helps you offer that to your clients.
Definitely. The depth of love and acceptance that I both have and I cultivate for myself is the depth of acceptance and love that I can have for my clients. And not only do I understand.
I think we're glitching a little bit with you there, your internet freezing a bit, but I trust you're going to come back in just a moment. So I'm going to talk a bit about my own experience of the love and openness that I offer to clients. And now I think you're back. So go ahead. Oh, you're freezing again. So for those of you that are watching, being able to come into a Cuddlist session, to have the time where the focus is on you, the client, and you get to be held as much as you want or as little as you want. Just because it's called Cuddlist doesn't mean you have to snuggle up and be held the whole time. And especially for folks who have sensory overwhelm or sensory integration that they're working on, to be able to ask for touch and then step away and say that's enough for now, and then ask for more and step away, is a really unique feature of a Cuddlist session that can be phenomenal for learning to enjoy touch and learning what touch you enjoy. Because if touch is always overwhelming, I know that's something that some of my clients have had that are perhaps on the autism spectrum, that touch can be really overwhelming, but they'd like to have more touch and they'd like to enjoy touch. And so being able to come close and step away, that's what I was chatting about. How are we doing with the internet, Indigo?
So I plugged in, I changed location, so hopefully it'll be better.
Great. You're smooth now. So we were talking about, from what I remember, we were talking about how your secure attachment and love for yourself is something that you offer your clients, and then maybe how they benefit from that.
Yeah, totally. So what it means is people who have like a wide range of experiences come in, and I can truly accept and love them. And that's a gift that I offer them. One of the gifts of being neurodiverse is I know everyone is wired differently. I don't have this box, this expectation that is, you must be this way or you're not okay. It's like, everyone is different.
Yeah.
And to the extent that there are like average, like normal ways of functioning, much of it is training, much of it is not actually going at, like, it's like, who has an image of their brain to really know its inner workings? So, I mean, my external, like my behavior, the way I work is like clearly different. And so it's been a gift that I can then really understand people with different ways of thinking, of being, of behaving, and love them.
Yeah, sweet. Will you share, because you're clearly doing so well and so embracing who you are, but will you tell us a little bit about your journey to get there? I imagine there were some hard times bumping up against that box and what society or different situations expected you to be?
So going through the school system, public school systems by and large are designed for the average, and anyone who is functioning at way higher or way lower or even past a certain threshold on either end is going to be neglected. Their education's not going to really serve them for who they are. And I mean, I was for my intelligence, like I was in gifted programs and those were fun and all, but still I remember a point where I came to my first grade teacher and I was like, we're just coloring. I'm pretty bored. I'm bored all day. And my teacher said, and my parents even said to my teacher, like, she's not really having a good time in class. She doesn't really want to go to school. And the teacher was like, we'll get to harder stuff. Don't worry. And we didn't. We just continued at the same, for me, really slow pace. And I was just like, ugh, all day at school. But I learned to comply. That's something of like, I really want to please. So I would figure out how to please and then just be bored. And then on the other end, like my lower than average empathy, the way that it hampered me, I think is, I remember this point where my best friend one day said, oh, okay, take the best piece of cake again. And I remember being horrified. I was like, you are upset with me? Like, because I couldn't tell. I would just go, it's like we had a piece of cake and I never noticed that it was like some single digit age, but I never realized that she was upset with me. So from that point on, I was like, oh, okay, I need to change my behavior. And another thing was I could never tell when people had secret sexual motives with me. They was like, oh, they want to be my friend. So I got into what turned out to be a lot of unsafe situations because I couldn't read people in the same way. And that's actually where I think a big part of some of my sexual trauma historically.
Yeah. How have you learned to not get in those situations? Like,
yeah, I mean, trial and error, honestly. It was like, oh, I believed your words. I thought you were honest. I've learned that in the broader culture, those who are socialized as boys, more often than not, are taught to try to get sex, like, without talking about it. And there's this gatekeeping thing that doesn't feel very safe. So for me, I just, like, unfortunately, in the broader world, in a cuddle session, I create the safety. And I make sure everyone's boundaries are respected. But if it's just in the wild, the broader field, one of the reasons why I think touch is scarce is because there's historical trauma and oppression that goes and it's different. Different genders experience things differently. Each individual's different, but at least my experience was being socialized as a girl and treated like a girl, and those who were socialized as boys or men were trying to get things from me without really directly asking. So I've learned to just state these in whatever situation. It's like I go to a cuddle party, I go to an event where touch is allowed, and I state to whoever it is, like, here are my boundaries. No bikini areas, don't even try, like, no sexual energy. I just want platonic connection.
Great. So when you want platonic with somebody, you've come to be able to just state your boundaries clearly.
Yeah.
And that helps with not getting in those dangerous encounters. Yeah.
Totally.
I found that really true as well. And maybe this is a tangent, but one of the things in a Cuddlist session in the beginning is our opening agreement, where I agree that I'm not going to do anything that I'm uncomfortable with. Anything that I do, I'm a wholehearted yes to doing. And do you, the client, agree that you will also not tolerate or endure anything you don't want, and you'll speak up and advocate for your own comfort? And I love that agreement. And I've taken that agreement out on dates with me. And, you know, if it gets to be like, oh, maybe we're going to make out with each other, I'm like, hey, I agree I'm not going to do anything I'm uncomfortable with. Do you agree to do the same? And I'm going to keep my boundaries and you're going to respect them. And people have responded really, really well. So I think even in the wild, being very clear on boundaries really helps. And the Cuddlist work is a lot of where I've learned how to do that. And I think it's where a lot of our clients learn how to do that. So will you
Totally.
talk a little bit about what you like about the boundaries and the Cuddlist session?
For me, clear, explicit boundaries bring a sense of safety. And if I don't feel safe, if the client doesn't feel safe, the depth of connection, the depth of emotional intimacy, of true safe, healing, nurturing touch, secure attachment cannot be there without trust, without safety. It's this underlying human need that without it, there cannot be authentic connection. And that's something I get so many clients who like write like, oh my gosh, I've never felt so safe with a stranger. I've never felt so loved by someone. And so I really pride myself on that ability to just the moment they walk in the door, whoever you are, whatever you are, except violence, obviously, except boundary crossing, but whatever is happening, are you sad? You can cry in my arms. If you say that something's not working for you, that's great. And so creating that container is something I love doing.
Yes, me too. High five. I love the clear boundaries because you know, I haven't really thought of myself as neurodiverse, but the more I go through this month's worth of interviews and conversations with people, I'm like, yep, the above average intelligence, definitely a below average seeming enjoyment of like the in the wild, unboundaried social connections that people have. I'm like, those are just weird. What are y'all doing? So I love the clear boundaries of the Cuddlist session. And we've got a code of conduct, right? For those of you who are watching and aren't super familiar with Cuddlist, we've got a code of conduct where we have specific things agreeing to keep sessions platonic, non-sexual, to not touch bikini areas, but also to be open and honest with each other and to be sober, to be above the age of consent. And there's a link that a client can submit a review of the practitioner, and that the you know, the founders and like the oversight folks at Cuddlist will take a look at those reviews too. And so there's a way, as we talk about safety, like the boundaries create safety, and also being able to give feedback to the larger organization about how a Cuddlist was in a session. That helps to create some safety, some oversight, right? You're not just, as a client, as a new client, perhaps going into someone's home or workspace that you have never met and has no accountability to anyone. Cuddlist as an organization does a really good job with training and support, particularly around boundaries and consent, and helping the client really stay in their, yes, I want this, rather than their, okay, I'll go along with it because I want to please somebody, or I've been socialized to go along, or whatever. And so helping clients really get, oh, I can speak up and ask for what I want. I can be sad, or I can be excited, or I can be different. I can be me and be safe and be welcome and be loved. Like, that's just fantastic. How has your neurodiversity helped you as a Cuddlist?
So it helps me be very clear from the get-go. And also it brings like a commitment for me to explicit boundary setting, to explicitly asking people, what does that feel like? So that I can really be in connection with them rather than an imperfect model, which we're always modeling what other people are feeling. And for me, it just brings an extra level of consciousness to, I can't know 100% what they're feeling. I can't 100% know what they want. And so I ask, and yeah.
Yeah. And that is, I do really love that you highlighted that, because when we think we're good at reading people, like it's actually kind of a yellow flag, not a red flag, but a yellow flag for me when I'm going through the training, because part of my job is to be the gatekeeper for folks who submit their profiles to Cuddlist and say they want to be out there in the world cuddling folks. I get to read through all their responses to the training and say whether I agree that they're ready to go do that or not, or ask them for more information. And I always, give people some feedback, some requests to be clear in their questions when they say, oh, I'll read the client's energy, I'll read what the client wants, I'm very intuitive, I'll just pick up on it. And I'm like, great that you're intuitive, and ask them, right? What would you like? What feels good to you? How are you doing right now? And it sounds like it's intuitive for you to ask rather than to try to be intuitive with your client.
Well, it's necessary. It's a necessary skill.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you would have me on an interview, but for about my trauma in the future, but the trauma itself is a gift. In that, which my neurodiversity contributed to, is my trauma allows me to truly understand what it's like to experience trauma, what it is to have a history, what it is to have that influence my day-to-day reality. And this way, as an event organizer, as an individual touch therapist or coach, I can have people who come in and say, I have trauma, and I get them. I get it. And I can also understand systemic trauma that I may not have experienced, like the systemic trauma people experience around race or ability, like physical ability, because I have been oppressed and experienced trauma on a broad scale. I really understand what it is. And that's something I'm really grateful for, because then I can create containers in a session. I can create communities. I can create workshops that include people, that bring people in, rather than accidentally saying something or accidentally designing a workshop that's going to bring something up where somebody won't feel safe in that way. It's a superpower.
It is a superpower, right? I do love that our superpowers get developed through our traumas. As we integrate and learn and heal, that's where our superpowers come from.
Yeah.
And that you can then offer that to your clients, right? If they come in and their trauma's fresher or raw or less integrated into their nervous system, you're like, oh, I know what that feels like. And I know what it feels like to have it be a superpower. And
totally.
You like, not only your words, but your whole being and your nervous system helps them learn how to do that.
Totally.
Yeah. What a gift. So cool.
Yeah. And I actually love when somebody comes in and they are willing to be vulnerable with me. And I've had a client who shook during a session, like cried and shook, and I held them. Or people who've never talked about things that happened in their past. And I love being able to just fully hold that and support them to move through whatever they need to, and create that space of radical acceptance, radical love, compassion that they need.
Radical acceptance, radical love. Yes! So good. It's so good. And also, one of the things I love about a Cuddlist session as different than like a talk therapy thing. Obviously, we're not therapists in that counselor or psychologist or psychiatrist kind of model, but we are. I think my shirt now says professional cuddle therapy. It's not on the screen, but I can make it go there. So we get to say that, yes, we do offer cuddle therapy. And to me, some of what that means, or what's beautiful and different about that, is that the holding, and maybe they're shaking or crying or just quiet or whatever, but the holding itself is therapeutic. And like when I've gone to talk therapists, if I want to be quiet, I kind of feel like I'm wasting my time, right? Because the whole purpose is to talk for the 50 minutes you've got. right? But in the cuddling, I had one session where a client talked about their trauma for about 15 minutes. And then we had about an hour of holding pretty much quietly, while it just like those insights that we got to, because we went through a lot, and he was like, whoa, and got some really big insights really into how it wasn't his fault, like really, really. And that letting go of that whole, like, what is bad about me that I caused it. And then you just got to be held and let that integrate for a while. And it was such a beautiful experience for me to be a part of holding that. So thanks for letting me share. How about for someone who is neurodiverse and is, what would have them come to Cuddlist? Why would you recommend Cuddlist sessions?
Yeah, especially for people who have a harder time reading social cues. Within the Cuddlist session, it's all just explicit, all clear, and there's no hidden agendas. So I know that I seek spaces out like that, and so anyone on the autism spectrum or who has a harder time with social cues, it's a great place to learn skills that you can use in the broader world of how to gain clarity without having a cliff that you can fall off of. And people also who have past experiences of unsafe touch, or who don't really know how to touch, who don't like have many experiences because of these lack of social graces, or because of other mental health issues, which often goes along with neurodiversity as well. All of that, like, bring your lack of experience or your bad experiences or your weird experiences or whatever, and then workshop it. It's like, if a client requests, I've role played with them. Like, they say, I have no idea how to talk to this girl. Can we role play that some? Or I have no idea how to initiate touch on a date. Like, I'm the man in the date, and I'm supposed to initiate everything, but I just can't read her, so I don't know what to do. And so role playing to give them the experience of what they can do in the real life situation. Or yeah, like just people coming and being held to have the healing experience of true safety, of true intimacy through the touch, and also emotional intimacy of the vulnerable sharing. So just, I think people who are neurodiverse are more likely to have had some level of difficulty with the systems that be. Or have hit a pain point, or like hit a snag of like, how do I do this? And I love providing the space for discovery and healing around that so much.
Yes. Oh goodness. I want to have a cuddle session with you. Indigo, thank you. I think that's awesome, and probably a good place to end, unless there's anything you want to add.
No, I think, I guess the final thing is I really want touch. I think touch is a human need, and it's so important, and I think it makes tackling issues of neurodiversity, of mental health, or just anything else in life, it makes it easier to have the touch need met. And it's also a lot of fun. So I would recommend it to try it if you haven't.
Right, that is a really good point. It's like the Cuddlist sessions can have all of these awesome benefits of being more at home in your own body, being more at home in social interactions, being able to date when you haven't been before. Totally. But also just the experience of the session is fun.
Yeah. Like, yeah, feels good.
It's really pleasant personal growth work.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Well, Indigo, thank you so much. It's been super fun, and I think we can stop the live stream. All right, so we're still recording on Zoom, but we're off of the live stream, and that was super fun for me. It seemed like it was pretty good for you too. Yeah,
that was fun.
Awesome. Great. So that's up on the Cuddlist professional page right now, because we just live streamed it. And then there'll probably be some little quotes that get tweeted or Instagrammed or whatever throughout the month. And I would love to talk with you when we do trauma as well. So thanks for letting me know that, but we're putting the focus of the month on hold until coronavirus stuff blows over, because Cuddlist is like trying to downsize their budget so that they don't, well, so that we get to survive this, because right, in-person sessions are kind of the thing. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I've canceled all of my sessions for this month, and I mean, if we're still social distancing, you know, cuddles are with strangers are the wrong thing.
Yeah. Yep. It's not really social distancing friendly.
No.
All right, I'm going to stop the recording on Zoom. I think it just did.